We all appreciate the principle of globalization. India's philosophy has always seen the world as one family. However, developing countries desire a globalization that does not create climate crisis or debt crisis. We want a globalization that does not lead to unequal distribution of vaccines or over-concentrated global supply chains. We want a globalization that brings prosperity and well-being to humanity as a whole. In short, we want a human-centric globalization. Excellencies, we developing countries are also concerned about the increasing fragmentation of the international landscape. These geopolitical tensions distract us from focusing on our development priorities. They cause sharp swings in international prices of food, fuel, fertilizer, and other commodities. To address this geopolitical fragmentation, we urgently need a fundamental reform of the major international organizations, including the United Nations Security Council and the Bretton Woods institutions. These reforms should focus on giving voice to the concerns of the developing world and reflect the realities of the 21st century. India's G20 presidency will attempt to voice the views of Global South on these important issues. Excellencies, in these development partnerships, India's approach has been consultative, outcome-oriented, demand-driven, people-centric, and respectful of the sovereignty of partner countries. I firmly believe that countries of Global South have a lot to learn from each other's development experiences. I am happy to announce that India will establish a Global South Center of Excellence. This institution will undertake research on development solutions or best practices of any of our countries, which can be scaled and implemented in other members of the Global South. As an example, the digital public goods developed by India in fields like electronic payments, health, education, or e-governance can be useful for many other developing countries. India has also made great strides in areas like space technology and nuclear energy. We will launch a Global South Science and Technology Initiative to share our experience, to share our expertise with other developing nations. During the COVID pandemic, India's Vaccine Maitri initiative supplied made in India vaccines to over 100 nations. I would now like to announce a new Arogya Maitri project. Under this project, India will provide essential medical supplies to any developing country affected by natural disasters or humanitarian crises. Excellencies, for synergizing our diplomatic voice, I propose a Global South Young Diplomats Forum to connect youthful officers to our foreign ministries. India will also institute Global South scholarships for students from developing countries to pursue higher education in India. Excellencies, the theme of today's session is inspired by the ancient wisdom of India. A prayer from the Rig Veda, the oldest text known to humanity, says, Sangachhadvam Samvadadvam Samvo Manasi Janatam, which means, let us come together, speak together, and may our minds be in harmony. Or in other words, unity of voice, unity of purpose. In this spirit, I look forward to listening to your views and suggestions. Thank you.
Prime Minister Modi there at the Global South Summit via video conferencing, where he says there should be a Global South Youth Forum and India has supplied Made in India vaccine to over 100 countries. He also says that as he looks forward to listening to the suggestions, Prime Minister Modi very clear about the way ahead as India takes over the presidency also of the G20. Earlier also he said in his opening remarks that India made strides in space tech. He addressed the first session of the two-day special virtual summit also. Prime Minister clearly stating that we have the largest stakes in the future.